podcast is rated PG-13. Parents strongly cautioned. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. Mission
Dune, 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 Dune,
Two.
Dune, 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 Dune,
Two.
We get our own epic sci-fi series, and we get to see it in theaters. I can't express how excited I am that this movie exists. So I'll just jump right into it. We're watching Dune Part 2. My 15 seconds is this movie seems like a lot of Denis Villeneuve's movies like a miracle that it exists. It's weird, hard sci-fi, and this one probably is going to be the most accessible one because there's some real funny humor and stuff in it. And yeah, there's more of a plot than the first one, but yeah, this movie was like, I can't really, it's going to be hard to form my words around what I feel about this. So we'll try. But yeah. What did you guys think? 15 seconds. Let's go. Quick review. Spoiler free.
I thought it was epic. It was really cool sound. And the story was kind of like a bunch of other movies I've seen a million times, which was my only critique, really. It reminded me of Gladiator, reminded me of, Star Wars. It reminded me of a lot of things that exist already. But great movie.
Yeah. Sweet. John?
15 seconds. Okay. I was a bit disappointed. I went to an old IMAX, which was a mistake.
An old IMAX?
Yeah, I talk at length about that, but that's not fair to the movie. I felt that, again, amazing set pieces, some just spectacular stuff that you don't see anywhere else.
Anywhere.
This is Denny. You see, Denny does this. And there, like you said, I really like how you put it, that it just need to be grateful to see these things.
Yes.
There's a lot of different critiques I have, but really ultimately
I have critiques too. I didn't want to go negative.
I feel
like
but it's like one of those things where you just got to give respect where respect is due.
I like that, right?
In the theater, right? This movie, like, you need the loud bass
sound.
The sound.
Yeah.
We got there like
it was amazing.
So I thought it was going to be a line. I went there on Friday afternoon at like 3:15 p.m. I took time off. And I was like, I'm going to get there an hour and a half early so I can be like the first one in line. I can get my own seat. I stood there by myself for an hour and 15 minutes.
I know, dude. There was no one. Our theater was pretty empty, too.
Yeah. It's making a shit ton of money right now, which is great. It's made like $81 million domestically and $90 million overseas. So it's already, first weekend, already at the budget. So it's going to make a lot of money.
Nice. Yeah,
which is great because that means they're going to make the third one.
Right.
Which,
I mean, how could you not? This whole story was just like a setup for the next one, which I kind of was bummed on. But, dude, and it seemed like it took forever to get to the last part. But I didn't mind it because it was so fascinating to see.
Yeah.
But
and I think the biggest criticism I have, and I think I might get used to this as I watch it more, but you can tell this movie was made at a different time than the first one. The edit is different. Like, I've watched the first one a bunch, and I really I've learned to appreciate, and I did the first time, kind of the slow pace of the first one where it tells you what it's going to do, and then it slowly shows you everything. You feel like you're kind of going along at a linear pace with everything that happens in the first movie. And in this movie, there's so much shit going on that it's like, it can't do that.
It can't do it,
it's
right?
3 hours long.
Right.
I was amazed at how much stuff they put in it,
right.
but
dude,
I was also kind of
with all sorts of shit.
Yeah, but there was like the one scene where he was they I think it was when I realized it was going to be a different kind of movie, was when he was going out to his camping trip, and they were like, "Oh, there's a lot of danger in the camping trip, and you have to do it by yourself, and it's going to be scary." And then he gets to like the first evening, and Shawnee shows up, and she's like,
not
"Ha!"
I know.
And then it cuts to him being done with the journey.
Right,
they don't even talk about it
right.
anymore. And I'm like, "What?" I thought this whole next half an hour was going to be his trials through the desert, because that's what would have happened in the first
They
one.
probably shot it, but they couldn't include it because there was so much other shit to take care of.
So much shit.
I mean, they had to go. They had to learn how to ride the worm. They had to go to the south.
Oh, man.
They had to it was like so much stuff.
Yeah, and I really did like all of it. I mean, it's, I guess, a good sign of a movie that I wish there was more of every single scene. I wish they had like split this second half into 2 3-hour-long movies. Is kind of how I feel right now. Because
I don't know
all
if I
of it
agree
was,
there, but
yeah, well, that's how I feel. Like, I wanted more of every single thing they had in there. So that's better than like disliking it in any way. I just wish they like had more time to do a lot of the stuff because it was all so good. And I just wanted it to feel, I don't know, more built out or something than it was. Because it felt less so than like the first one is the only real complaint I have about it. But that's also I've only watched it once.
It seemed to be more compressed as it went along. Like because I was sitting there wondering like about 2 hours in, like Jesus. So I didn't know if the third one was going to finish. So I didn't know if the second one was going to finish the first book. Basically, and I was thinking that's not going to happen at this point.
It's like there's not enough time. We only have an hour and a half left.
Isn't.
Right. There's no like we don't have,
this one.
Yeah. I was thinking we don't have time for the final battle and stuff. That's going to be which is good. I was thinking good but then I was like I was impressed they got all of that in there.
And that part was so cool.
I didn't think it was going to happen. But there's all a shit ton they left out too. That's from the book as well, because I think there's so much that they had to do and explain and make happen. So yeah.
Plus, they needed that beautiful Christopher Walken. Ah, I need him now, or whatever he said.
Can we address the Walken? Just get that out of the way.
I need to find him.
He acted like himself. I was like, he's in a Dune movie. He can't act like Christopher Walken. Nope, look at that. He's doing Christopher Walken.
He's doing Christopher Walken again. I know.
Exactly.
I laughed at that part.
We need the spice.
We need to find it. We need to find it now.
Did you guys see the Super Bowl commercial with about him? You should look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. Just look up Christopher Walken Super Bowl commercial. I won't even tell you what the joke is, but it's really cool. But you guys nailed it. He can't. It's such a miscasting thing because he's Christopher Walken. He's not the fucking Emperor of the Universe. He's Christopher Walken. At best, you might try to make a stretch and go, "That's pretty cool that Christopher Walken got to be Emperor of the Universe." But he's still
at the same
Walken.
time, I felt the same way about like Dave Bautista's character and Florence Pugh's character and Anya Taylor-Joy popping in for a fucking half a second, which was very odd. Being like, holy shit, she's an A-lister at this point, and she's in this movie for literally 10 seconds. Which just felt
I don't know if it's
strange.
Right, but are these casting calls like are these like strategic financial decisions? Meaning like you're getting these actors, they're gonna bring people to see the film.
I mean, with Anya Taylor-Joy, there was a leak that she was in it, and that caused a lot of people to get very excited about it. So I'm sure they made more money because of that.
Like Walken, because Batista, you're right. All these characters are these people. They're not the characters.
I mean, I don't know. Now that I say that, I kind of disagree. I do like the characters in this movie, and even like Stilgar, like Javier Bardem's character changed a lot from the first one. The first one, he was like a grumpy, like quiet guy, and in this one, he got a lot of laughs out of the theater, which was pretty fun. And it didn't quite line up with like who he was in the first one, but like I didn't care because it was really funny the way he was kind of fanboying over Paul and just every time something happened, he's like,
funny
and it was written.
And it was written. Yeah, I laughed hysterically a couple times.
So
it was just like, and it was such a statement on a lot of the religion, things in the world and people,
No, I'm not saying not everybody, just some of these characters that we're mentioning, like Walken and but Bardem was awesome, and again, they're different kinds of actors that are going to create a character, right? But
how about friggin' Austin Butler? You couldn't recognize that guy.
Yeah,
have you seen him in other stuff?
No,
he was Elvis.
He was yeah.
Yeah, he was the bad guy, whatever his name is.
Oh, he's Fade Rutha, yeah.
Fade Rutha, yeah.
Which he was still so yeah.
He kind of stood out.
He stood out, but I also didn't like how unnuanced the bad guys were. They were just so bad that it was uninteresting in a way. It's like, oh, he's just so bad. Aren't you so bad? Are you gonna do bad things? And I don't know.
Fucking grump over
here. You're gonna say I'm total old man. Let me tell you about my IMAX experience when you had a chance. But no, it just seems so like like unhuman in that sense. It's just like, oh, he's just so evil that it's kind of boring.
I kind of disagree. He was kind of a psychopath, but he still was charismatic to a point.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite the extent of like Alex from Clockwork Orange.
No,
because he was a little.
The Baron was even worse
because
he was just like grumpy fat guy. But I can see that. What worked really well was his character in that setting when they had the gladiator scene and it was all
That scene
black
was
and
so
white,
good. Yeah.
and the arena and the way they did it, and it had this like fascist Nazi overtone. But
It did. It
that
really
was,
did.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
It was really impressive the way
The
they decided to do all
firework
that.
design,
Yeah.
like just
Right.
some of the shit in this movie,
Yeah,
like the
how
weird
cool is that?
sci-fi stuff.
What was that? Like it was water
we
or
actually,
something?
I saw it with like a couple of friends, and we talked about it. We all had different ideas of what it was, and I thought it was like a shield over the
Right.
arena that they shot shit at from the inside,
and then it
kind of
exploded on the edge. Yeah,
and that's how they did like fireworks on this
Right.
planet. That was my thought,
Right.
but
It was
everyone else had
cool.
like like all the costume designs, like the four dudes in the black outfits with like the jester hat
Right.
standing around
Yeah,
them during the gladiator fights.
Yeah, the goaters or whatever they were, where they were going to have hooks. Yeah.
Yeah,
those guys were.
those
Yeah.
guys. I mean, like the chainmail hats that Florence Pugh was in. A lot of the stuff they put friggin' Lady Jessica in. Just I mean, the
It's
production
weird.
design of this movie is absolutely insane.
It
The special
is, it
effects.
is.
Did you guys? So, John, you watched it? Was it a 70 millimeter IMAX or was it
No,
digital
it's
projector?
digital and old digital. It's probably like 2K. I
What?
mean, I don't know. It's
What?
like early IMAX, right? Like maybe it was 4K. I don't know. But like IMAX has gone through iterations, and so I think I was in a pretty.
I mean,
old,
IMAX is film, so
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
don't know.
resolution.
I mean,
Oh,
IMAX
really?
it
Oh, I
should be
didn't know.
IMAX. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know.
IMAX should be IMAX no matter
I was
what.
not. I don't know
Yeah.
what if we just got. I don't know if maybe
Bad
it's-
theater, maybe.
It just so yeah. This is a big problem. We weren't really impressed with the resolution of it. It didn't seem crisp, and also we were in
That
very
sucks.
uncomfortable chairs. And
oh, dude.
and the mix was terrible bassy, like so,
Oh.
like in a
Wow,
like
that might have
like-
been on purpose.
no, but
though.
it was. I know that there's the arrival bwomp with this like heavy metal overtone, which I thought was actually really cool. It was
It
badass.
was awesome.
But-
It's like guitars,
Yeah.
right? It sounds
Yeah,
like guitars.
Yeah, it is, but it's like it's also like the usual Denny bwomp, but then add metal, right? So it's bwomp plus metal. It's pretty cool.
And a little Middle East,
Right.
Middle Eastern music
Middle
in
East
there.
metal. You mix it all in there. It's a pretty good soup.
Yeah.
But the mix was really bad. It was like headache inducing for like Nikki and I, and it was like rumbling through the chairs, like so. And
That sounds fucking
So
awful.
we're sitting there uncomfortable. It seems
Yeah.
like it's a little blurry, and the noise is because the noise the score in a good way. I think maybe if I was in a better setting, is kind of constant. Like it's the score is really hitting you a lot.
No, actually, so I found a
thought-
pattern while watching the movie because I
Okay.
brought. Naomi works for a company that makes these nice little thermoses, and I made myself. I knew it was 3 hours long, and I wanted a drink, and I didn't want beer, so I brought a mixed drink. So because
Nice.
it's smaller, less
Nice.
pee and all that stuff, but it's in this like metallic insulated coffee mug thing, and I put ice in it. And whenever I drank out of it, it clanged
It made
really
noise?
loudly.
Oh,
a
so
lot
you
of
can
noise.
tell when it was quiet.
So I had to like every scene of noise, like basically every scene would like be quiet in the beginning, like dead quiet in the beginning, and
Oh,
then
nice.
slowly ramp. And at the
Yeah.
end of the scene,
Yeah.
it would be very, very, very fucking loud, and I'd have to unscrew the cap and drink the thing and put it back on because within
Oh
20
my
seconds,
God.
at the end of the scene, it
That's
would
so
cut to
funny.
complete silence. Because whenever it
That's
jumped
awesome.
scenes, it would go from very loud ending of one scene to dead silent beginning of the other scene, and it was a pattern that I recognized because I needed to strategize on how I was going to drink
my
my mixed
God.
drink during this movie.
Cool.
We had some drunk girl in our theater that was like making noise. It was
Oh,
ridiculous.
God.
And like people were shushing her and she wasn't even giving a fuck. It was like, oh, yeah.
Like
Was
what
she
was
just
she
talking
like?
about the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she would be like, all of a sudden you'd hear her giggle like she was just drunk, you know? Like something would happen and then she'd say something to her friend and then she'd giggle and you're like, oh my God, dude. But luckily it didn't happen often. So, if, you drunk people, you gotta be careful. You know? Making noise.
I just had a little mixed drink, just a one
Yeah,
little
and
drink.
that's what I
to get
mean.
me
But
through,
you
know?
still, it's still. But anyway,
The only time during the movie people made noise was at that last knife fight scene where Paul grabbed the knife and Fade Ruther was like pushing it in,
Right.
and it was
Oh.
like sliding through his hand.
It was a
People were
gasp
gasping.
moment.
The
Yeah.
only time anybody made noise was when he offered the hand to the emperor's daughter.
Oh.
That was the only time
people
anybody
were
made
upset
noise. They
about
were like,
that.
"Oh,
No,
what
they
the
didn't know
fuck?"
that.
Yeah, they were pissed. Yeah, like bummed out that that he decided to do that. Even though he prefaced it for her, but still, it was like it made like a shocking. Everyone was like, no, you're supposed to be in love with her. You know, like that was like that, and that it dawned on me like what really people are there for, right? Is those things, and that's why it's in this movie. Is that's the accessible part? Is those. Love,
and I thought it worked pretty good.
stories.
Their relationship was a little more on the friend side, but it's still like there was some chemistry there. It didn't seem necessarily romantic, but
no, but he loved
see,
her. Yeah.
So and I did like it too, how like she was in the middle of being mad at him for certain things, and you could kind of think like maybe she ended their relationship, and was mad at him. But she expected, like from her reaction at the end, she expected that portion to be over, just let some time pass, and then she'd be with him or something. That's what she was thinking was going to happen,
right?
Because it was kind of surprising when she was so upset. But you know,
and then not to mention she now is going to go and be like his arch nemesis or something. Like what?
No, I think she's
next?
just like, you know, when you're pissed and you just like need to get in your car and drive. She just needs to hop on a worm and ride.
Go.
But didn't they leave the planet? So like, isn't she going by herself into this desert, and they're going to be gone when she gets back? Or did I not?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Paul isn't necessarily leading the universe invasion. I mean, I don't.
Someone's got to farm the spice, right? Someone's got to stay. But yeah, good point. I don't know, because she was.
We should have a
Fremen
because they were like, all right, off to paradise, and everybody takes off, and then she's in the desert walking away, and like she's gonna come back, and what? They're all gonna be gone. I mean, like it didn't.
Not all Fremen were believers, right? There's probably some like because she was a non-believer,
right? So she was gonna go back to the north,
right?
To the other group. Yeah,
I would think,
right. Because this is all too
But
crazy
I mean, that was one question I had based on that, because I was just like, wait, doesn't this mean then that like she may not be with them again? And so what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, where does that go? And I didn't read the book, so I have no clue.
We'll have to have a book corner section, and I can talk about all the differences. But
okay.
But yeah, I thought that was it was interesting. The way but
that was the only time anyone made any noise, and nobody clapped. There was no clap. There was no nothing. It was a silent theater on the way out, and one guy was talking shit when I was in the pisser, because I had to get up. I had one of those situations where it was like, as soon as I saw the credits, I jumped up because I had to piss so bad. So I ran. So I was in the pisser before anybody else got in, and I could hear people like shit talking when they were walking in the door. And like one guy was just like
what? Too slow?
He was like, Jesus fucking Christ, just get there already. I mean, unreal. Like, just it took too long to get to that final bit, which was the most climactic bit, you know? So it's, you know, I mean, these are LA people though. Everyone's so jaded, right? If it's not perfect to their standards, it's not good enough, you know? And you can't do that and sell a movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I guess there's not a lot of hard sci-fi that is accessible, right? That's kind of, this genre is new to a lot of people that are only seeing big budget blockbusters.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty rare.
Daisha didn't see it. So we tried to watch the first one. She fell asleep about halfway through. And then she didn't really know the story at all. So when she went into the second one, she didn't feel confused though. So she was able to follow it, and she ended up like enjoying it. It seems like so. It seems accessible enough to the most people. It's got all the regular story stuff that we're used to.
The CineScore that people like. There's a kind of a system where they rank it as people walk out of the theater. The first one got an A-, and this one is getting an A after the first weekend.
So impressive.
So that's
slightly
good.
Better. Yeah.
I think there's a lot in this movie that can reach anyone,
Mm-hmm.
And the fucking visuals are so stunning, and the sound is so impressive that.
Mm-hmm. And like the design of the actions, like that scene where there's the spice harvester and they fight around it, and like they use the spice harvester for the battle. That was just the fact that they had to design the spice harvester first and then come up with what they're going to do around it for the action. Like that shit was pretty nuts.
That was nice. Although I will add, I was a little annoyed because then they just shoot it with lasers and blow it up. Like, why not just do that? You should have just done that.
Right. From the
shoot it with these
beginning.
big lasers and you blow it up. What the fuck did you need to like
What are we
dance
waiting
around
on?
the ornithopter?
Stop breaking the movie, John. God, they only had a rocket launcher.
John, that's a really good point. That is
Yeah.
a really good point. Like, they could have been doing this the entire
why
time.
didn't she have a laser? Yeah,
No.
I guess.
Why did they have to sit there and fight the ornithopter, which was an awesome, like where
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
But then they do that. The ornithopter goes down, and then somebody just shoots the thing with a laser, and the whole thing blows up. Like, just why did you fucking start?
Start
maybe,
with that.
Maybe you
And
got to
then you
take.
don't
Maybe it
have
needs
to
to
go in.
charge. Maybe it's like Godzilla and it needs
I
to
don't know.
charge up over a
Maybe,
certain period of time.
maybe you got to take the ornithopter out though, because that'll come and get you. And so that's like the big problem. Like if they were to reveal their position and shoot the thing and blow it
Then
up,
they're
the
dead.
ornithopter would come get you. That's what I made up afterwards to feel better.
Right. So, like,
And maybe the
yeah,
aim on
right.
those lasers is bad because whenever you see it hitting something, it hits a really big object, but it's always like moving, right? It doesn't look like it's hitting the center. It's just like, oh, I'm a laser. I'm a sloppy. I can't aim. Oh, watch out! Here comes a laser. So like a small
That's right.
flying helicopter is not something they could hit with it because
Maybe.
it's a floppy
Yeah.
laser.
Right,
that
right.
they're-
No,
Yeah.
I was just saying you can hit that sound crawler, just blow that up and go away. You know, they don't need to deal with the ornithopter.
No, you explained it away because then the
Yeah.
ornithopter would see where it's coming from, chase you down, and kill you.
Yeah,
That's no
right,
good.
right.
And
It
maybe
should-
they
yeah.
only have so many lasers.
Yeah,
And
right.
they can't
So-
afford to
Those
lose it.
lasers got to be expensive
Yeah.
too,
Oh
right?
yeah,
It's like-
and
it's
they
a
don't
good weapon
move.
right there.
They're only they're straight only. You know, there's not much you can do. It's
Yeah.
heavy. You know, trying to
And also,
move
you have
it
to like
big,
calculate. You know, you got your friends behind the thing. You got to make sure you don't hit them. There's like probably some calculations that goes into it, like a
Yeah.
sniper rifle. You know, it takes time.
right.
You can't just be firing it willy nilly, John. Jesus, stop trying to
No,
break
I
the
mean
movie.
it's their version of what do you call those? The rocket launchers, right? It's
Yeah.
the sci-fi version of a rocket launcher. So those aren't very accurate. So it makes sense.
Except for their rocket launchers are pretty damn accurate. The one that Zendaya
That's
had.
true.
Johnny.
That's true.
Yeah,
Only,
that's
but
right.
only if you get it just right.
You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta tease it
Well,
first.
then they got
then
shields. You got to break through the shields too. So you got a lot of problems that you got to overcome.
Dude, I loved some of those firepower noises they had in there. The machine gun noises were sick. You felt it in your seat. And finally, for once, I picked the exact middle on both vertical and horizontal. So I was dead centered, looking dead set into the middle of the screen. And the sound was just like you would expect for that moment. It was almost like I found the front of house, you know, like where they actually mix it, you know, that spot. So it was I got really lucky with the sound this time. So John, it sucks you didn't have a good one.
No,
'cause,
I know.
I mean, this was all part of it is the sound. Those fucking worm things, whatever they want to call them. What are they called?
Worms, just sandworms.
Worms.
No. The
Oh, wait.
things they put, they go doom doom.
Oh, the thumpers.
Oh,
thumpers.
To the thumpers. Those were sick. I mean, you could hear it.
Yeah.
I was in the Atmos, you know, so you could hear it all around you, and it was moving. It was
Oh,
sick.
cool.
Even when they
Yeah.
punched the sand, like when he was punching the sand to get it, like
Yeah.
you could hear the difference in.
Oh, yeah.
it not, like it's not deep enough. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I hear it. I'm like, oh, I get it.
Oh yeah, now we know that's the spot. Yeah,
yeah.
pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
scene of him riding the sandworm first too, like that was a set, and you could tell like what he was standing
Yeah.
on was not CG. He was actually riding something, and they were actually blowing shit in his face, and then they just
Yeah.
put all the other special effects around it and doing
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That
Is never going to get old.
That was
Dude,
a
I'm
highlight.
sorry,
So
but
much
I
better.
loved them riding along like it's a taxi. That was
Right, yeah,
a
yeah,
great
yeah.
idea. They got all these attachments and shit. They're all hanging tight on like they're on a train or something. It was like such
Yeah.
a cool.
And it's thought out. It's like, you know, he's hanging by the hook, but then he like has the ropes to extend it because you're like, oh yeah, that would kind of be more comfortable being on the
Yeah.
worm.
You got to get the long rider thing or whatever. You know, like the big
'Cause then you can
handlebars.
just cruise.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of leaning back and enjoying the ride as opposed to struggling and
That
Yeah.
sequence is a highlight. The sheer like sort of sense of like this is like your motorbike ride, but even way more intense or whatever. Just the sense of the danger of it, the like how the sand is like fucking whipping all over you, and yet and the sense of like I don't know what just danger that they gave you with that. It was so cool. I thought it was really and I
and
don't
just
know,
the fact that when
just-
when he's running towards the edge of where you
Yeah.
can see it dropping off
Right,
in another
and he's
movie,
like-
somebody would have like leapt off the edge and flown through the air. But this movie is so great because like he like trips and falls down
Right.
the thing, which is what would have happened to anybody because
Yes.
it's sand and he misjudged it and he has to recover from that.
yeah.
right.
And that
It
just makes
wasn't
it so
some
much
big
more
glorious
realistic.
leap, right? Where he makes
Yeah.
it right. No, it says like this is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
and
He could be swallowed by sand if
Right.
he fucks this
Right.
up right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I think that's probably my favorite. Well, there's a couple of really good set pieces, and that was definitely one of the standout ones. Timothy,
That one
I
definitely
mean,
stands out.
Timothy was awesome. I thought he really nailed it in this.
He was
this
even
one.
better in this one than the first one. He was a little less mopey. He when he got like all angry prophet, that was all that stuff
That
was
was
really
good.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
going into the circle to talk was also really awesome. The
When
way
he was like
they-
reading the minds of the people and
Yeah.
convincing them,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
having to kill Stilgar.
that I thought was extremely well done, not just by him, but the whole set piece. But he has to carry it. He's got to be there with authority. He can't be like mopey glam rock guy or whatever he goes
No,
for.
I really thought they did a great job of showing that like that was his character change. Like his arc had completed at that
Right.
point, right? He's now a changed person because
He's yeah.
there's a few reasons why, and it was cool that it was like not only was it because he drank this crazy shit, he's had to make a few other decisions before that brought him to this ability to say, I'm ready for this now.
Yeah.
And it was clear. And I had chills when he was screaming because like he doesn't scream.
Yeah,
You know?
and I kind of liked it too. Like with the screaming, you don't know. Like he talks about how the good outcome of all these different outcomes is kind of like a razor's edge or whatever, or a sword's edge, but you don't know if he fucked that up, right? It never
Right.
tells you if he's like now on the path to doing the famine thing that he dreaded beforehand. Like he might have just become kind of evil like his mother. Like you don't even know what's going on with his mother either. When she drinks that shit, she changes completely, and he's
Yeah.
kind of doing the same. And the movie doesn't tell you if it's like if he's still trying to be the good guy that he was trying to be before, or if he's just like, fuck it, I'm going to be the Messiah. I want power. This will be good. What I thought was that the path for him might have been his death, right? And then when he chose not to die in that fight with Fade Rutha, that he chose in that moment because for whatever reason he didn't want to die, he chose to live, and therefore all outcomes from that point are the famine and bad.
So you guys saying this is pretty awesome because these are the exact kind of things that are brought up in the book. But the movie doesn't
really?
say it explicitly. No, the movie doesn't say it explicitly, but it's kind of
But it
awesome
shows
that
it.
you guys are picking up on this.
Yeah.
Exactly. These are exactly the kinds of themes where, like, him feeling like there's an inevitability to what's going to happen. Like, even if he dies or throws it, like, everybody around him would have to die. Everybody he knows would have to die to stop it. And so there's this sense of inevitability about what the direction things are going. And at the same time, like you said, Denny, he's still making these decisions whether to live or die. And he's committing to different things at different points. And that's like a recurring theme through the book for him once he starts being able to see the future and having this sense of there's the in the book they call it the jihad. That is basically the Freeman going out to the universe and fucking up everybody, basically. And that's the thing that it's a little strange in the book that it's more like focused on there are people starving, or in the movie rather, it's starving. In the book, it's more about no, the Freemen are just going to go and just take over the universe and kill people along the way, and that's what he's seeing as the outcome. He's seeing as this like complete like reorganization of things with all the Freemen going out there and just taking charge
Fremen.
forcefully. Fremen.
Fremen.
I'll say it.
He read the book first, folks.
Fremen. I know I did. Sorry. Fremen.
Sardukar.
Sardu. How did they say it in the film? Yeah.
Sadukar. Sardukar, right? How do you say it?
I always say Sardukar. That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
So, how is it said in the film? Is it different?
No, I think it's Sardukar.
Okay, then
I think.
there. Thank you.
You got it.
Anyway, yay. So, but it's pretty cool that you guys are picking up on that because that's something that's fucking hard to convey in the like. That's one of the things that makes this book so
what they
difficult to
do to make it work is they focus a lot on the fact that he has choices. I mean, they do show the famine thing, so they remind you a few times throughout the movie that he's struggling with choice his entire existence, sort of thing. So, like, that's going on in the background, and a lot of the scenes let you think, because, like, a lot of the interactions with him and Chani, you're kind of like, I don't know what his motivation, like, it's always in question, like, what is he going to do? Because he can kind of see the future, and he's kind of going to be the king. Like, we don't know what the right path is. He might know, but maybe he doesn't. But they don't tell us what the right path is. So everything he does, it's kind of like, why is he doing this? Is he, is he going to be a good guy? Is he going to be a bad guy? Like,
and
you don't know.
It's
great.
interesting. So I can go ahead and get into this a little bit since you bring it up. You set this up really well, Denny. The book that Chani doesn't disagree with. Chani is not in conflict with him so much. She doesn't abandon him at the end.
Okay.
There's a bunch of other things that go on I can talk about, but
and they had a kid in the book.
Yeah, they had a kid.
I heard about.
Really?
Yeah.
They have
and
a
the
boy,
kid died.
The kid dies. They have a boy who died. More time passes between when
wow.
Paul starts to gather his power. There's more time that passes. His Aliyah is born. So the Duke's daughter is born, and she has some really awesome role to play in the end of the book, which I can talk about later too. But to get back to Chani, so she is not in conflict with him in the book in this way. I mean, she's still a little hurt that he marries Aurelian, but she's staying with him. She's not leaving him. There's not this north and south distinction of believers in the book either. So there's not this realization by some Fremen that this is what Paul's doing. It's just all like accepted that he's the Messiah, and there's not a conflict amongst the groups even or amongst Chani. So again, I think it's in some ways it's a really smart decision by the movie because it allows them to make these things clear, to make the conflict and Paul's conflict about whether or not to accept this a lot clearer because you get to explore that through his relationship with Chani. I think it would be really fucking difficult to do it otherwise. You'd have to have some narration or something. You'd have like
that's
in
really
his head.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's probably why they did that.
It's possibly,
very good
right?
dissecting there, John. I
Right.
think that's
So-
probably why.
Right, because but I didn't think about why. I was just kind of annoyed, like, oh, they didn't do this in the book, me. But maybe
Classic
maybe,
John.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just whine and bitch. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But maybe this is what they had to do. They're like, well, fuck, we got to explore this stuff. He's got this relationship. That's going to be the romantic thing. So people will focus on that. So we can use that relationship to help have them talk about this conflict. And then that allows you to see how it's different. Like one of the big things in the book is how Paul's disappointed because he sees his friends become worshipers. Like he sees Stilgar become a worshiper, and that hurts him. He's like bummed about it. But that's harder to you sort of like would have to like to really get that out. It would be kind of difficult. But to make it so that like, okay, you've got these North and South freemen. Let's do that. So that gives the viewers this nice contrast of believers or people that are more religious, more superstitious or whatever, and accepting these things, and the non-believers, and that gives you this sort of interesting contrast so that you get to think about it as an audience without having to have some kind of narration or a whole lot of fucking monologues or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, so Villeneuve always talks about how movies are not like word-based; they should be shapes and colors. That's like
Yeah. That makes
what
sense.
yeah. And this movie would be great even with the friggin' mute button on.
Yeah.
Well, the
Wow.
sound is great too, but visually, the movie's like friggin' incredible. So
It is. I'll
there
give
were
it
some shots where I was like, I need a print of this. Like the scene where the freaking Christopher Walken disco ball spaceship is like freaking looks like it's on fire because of all the sand and then all the all the armies underneath it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just that whole thing was just out of control.
The whole
Never
thing
seen
and
anything like it.
the whole sequence of the worm, them riding the worms and coming into the final battle is fucking awesome.
It
I
was
knew that was
amazing.
coming, and I was wondering how they would do that, and I was not at all disappointed there. That was just
No,
that couldn't have been
those
better.
scenes were
It was
sick.
just right, yeah. So and even like again, there's nothing so. They do some things much better than the books. Again, like showing the intensity of what worm riding might be like. The book does not do that justice the way the movie does, right?
You just hop on a worm and you're good to go.
Kinda.
As long as you find a hill, you can jump on it when it comes by.
Right. It's still described as this amazing thing.
It's like
that
grabbing onto the
everybody's like-
dorsal fin of a dolphin. That's all it
Right,
is.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
You've seen alligators. Just get on one. You're good.
You do that at Worm World. You get
Right,
the kids.
no
You pay a
problem.
little extra. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it how they brought in nukes. I was not expecting nukes in this movie.
Yeah,
and the way that
I
they
know.
used them. Like, I love it how Paul always thinking he used the nukes, but he didn't use them on the soldiers. He used them to give the advantage in the battlefield so that the people could fight on the ground. So like he was giving what's his name, his army buddy there, what he wanted by using the nukes, but then also
Gurney?
giving Gurney, giving him and the his army there, but then also giving the Fremen what they wanted by battling on the ground, sort of thing. So it was like a very good middle ground decision while still using the weapons. And yeah, I mean, he could have just like killed them all with the 3 missiles that they shot, but
True.
that's
but
not what they did.
that would have been it. So that would have had a different consequence, though. If they had done that, then they might have had the other great houses descend upon them. So there's this other. They don't really describe this in a lot of detail, and this was the thing I was a bit annoyed at by the movie, but so there are all these other great houses.
Tell us what else you didn't like, John.
Yeah,
Just
right.
list another thing off.
Yeah, you see, what annoyed me is So there's all these other great houses, right? There's in the book, which talks
There's
about more
5.
of this.
We
of
got
course,
it. They said it. There's 5.
There's politics, but so it would have been like if they had like blown other people up, then that would have been that they would have been immediately more of an enemy to those other great houses that could have just descended on them and fought all of them.
Because getting stabbed is better than getting blown up. Is that the space rules? Is that what's in the conduct of space?
Yes, but also
manual?
that you're willing to use those atomics that way. But the other
You
thing
can only blow up mountains. That's okay. But if you hit a person,
no. But the other thing
Bad news.
they reserved them for was to point them at the spice. And in the book, what happens is everybody accepts that they would destroy them, and so everybody backs down. In the end of the first book, there's no.
Oh, this is spoiler territory here.
Right. Well,
Wow,
sorry.
I mean, I think we've screwed that up.
right.
At this
That's
point, right?
So there's no like at the end of the first book, you don't know that
We know they don't blow up Dune because there's like 10 books, right?
Well,
they can't
right.
blow up the
There's
Dune
like-
planet. I guess
there's-
that's
anyway.
kind of.
But there's no mass invasion either. You don't know that the jihad occurs.
Stop fucking spoiling it. I'm going to watch the 3rd movie, John. We're not talking about Messiah
Well, no,
anymore.
I don't know what the book is gonna, but you should read the book now. I think the book will be kind of fun to read for you guys now that you have all this. It's not going to be like too like weird and complex because
Yeah.
you got the movie to like help you.
Thanks, movie. I
Yes.
need help. I
You-
can't
you do.
read
I
books
don't
by
know how
myself.
to read.
No, it's a problem with the book is people read it and they're like, this is all this fucking history. It's weird. I don't get it. It's not, the book is, it's one of the
You
things
have to you have to learn stuff in order to
Yeah,
understand
well,
this full
and
story. You know.
Yeah, it doesn't help you. I mean, it's kind of like you have to read it like twice or something before you're like, all right. So then that's not typical. You don't necessarily.
No,
have
it
to
is
expect
typical
to
for
read
like hard sci-fi. It's actually
Yeah,
I
it can
can't
be.
get through the Lord of the Rings either because it does the same thing where there's chapters that don't like they stop the narrative and they just go back and recite history. So it's like a history lesson to a fantasy world,
Right.
and Dune
Yeah.
does that too. And like I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of that.
Right.
Like that's
Like-
great for people who do, but like it's really hard
Yeah.
to read for me
Yeah,
because
it
I
is.
get really bored.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm here to read a story. I'm not here to read history. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But without the
but-
history, the story doesn't have as much context.
Right.
Well, yeah.
That's why
But
they make
that-
great movies. Yeah.
Right. But also
you get the
but
whole
also-
background there.
Right. Yeah. But so it's weird in the movie how. So in the book again, basically everybody backs off and Paul wins. That's the way the book ends. In the movie,
He wins meaning like he
Like,
wins because there's no war and he's the
there's
emperor
right,
and
right.
okay.
As far as you know, that's the way the book's ending. The jihad's whether it occurs or not, I will not say. But then you learn that in the next book. But in the movie, like it's immediately that the jihad's happening anyway. They're like, oh, we got these other ships. We're just going to jump in and go invade the rest of the universe. That doesn't require any planning or whatever. So they all jump in these ships and go off to invade the other universe, like immediately after which I thought was kind of silly. But yeah, they did, and they didn't buy that they were going to blow up the spice apparently in the movie. So then that means that they had to go defeat all the other houses by jumping in those ships that happened to be there. Cool. So yeah, that was annoying as far as that ending goes. That seemed to be a little bit silly. Like, okay, we got these other ships. We're just going to jump in and go invade the rest of the universe. Bye. Anyway, but sorry.
See ya.
Is that what you
good
got out of
one.
the end of the movie?
That's
not how
kind of what I
walked
got
of
out of the end of the movie,
Really?
too.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
still
we did
guys
it,
getting in
everyone.
the ships.
Well, have a good
Yeah.
trip. Be safe. We'll see
And
you
the
later.
Emperor's got these other ships here. We're just gonna go. We just did this
Yeah.
other invasion battle. We won it. So now we're gonna go to this other one. You know, we're in the
Yeah.
finals.
Yeah, we got a
Keys
quick
Wallet's phone,
rundown of
everyone.
all
We're
the
hopping on
controls.
these spaceships.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. I didn't walk out thinking any of that was silly. I thought the weight of I didn't know what was going to happen in the books, and looking back I should have known. But like when he was fighting, what's his name, Elvis over there.
Fade
I
Rutha.
thought Fade Rutha. I thought friggin' Paul was going to die. Like I thought he could die.
yeah. It was
because
done
I know
well.
there's 10 different books, and I assume Paul doesn't live through all 10 books.
Right.
Maybe he dies right here. I don't know.
Right.
So that was fun,
right.
too.
I had
Like,
those thoughts. I had those thoughts for sure.
Yeah. The movie got me. It wasn't like, oh, he's going to be fine. Don't worry, moviegoer. I was like, oh, shit. Like, they might kill him
They
right
might
now.
kill him
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. I know.
Yeah.
It looked like a near thing. They did it
Yeah.
well. Did you in that fight? Did you guys understand how he won it? Because I didn't understand how he won
I
it.
thought it was
I
because
guess
he
he's-
let him. He lowered his defenses. The guy, because he liked watching people suffer, so he became more comfortable, which let Paul get closer to him and trick him and like get him by surprise. Because Fade Ruther seemed like he was he would have won, but he lowered his guard because he saw Paul was
Right.
injured and kind of started feeling whatever pleasure he feels from like killing people,
Yeah.
and it made him less attacky or whatever.
But-
That's
but
what I
you
thought.
And
guessed
so
that.
he
You-
snuck in the knife real quick,
Yeah.
or what? Yeah,
That's what I
okay.
thought. Yeah.
But they didn't let us see how Paul did it. Like that sort of made it.
No.
I was a bit annoyed by
No,
that.
it was like he fell on him, and since a knife the guy had, I noticed too, it was in like the shoulder, which he's not going to die from that, right? So
I
it
figured he had
wasn't,
another knife
and I
on
think
him.
he got the knife. Paul got the knife in the heart, so that
Yeah.
was the end of that. So
Yeah.
one guy had him in the shoulder, the other guy had him in the heart. So I think I explained it away as that.
Yeah, I figured that Paul
you
knew
know.
he was only going to be able to win if he let Fade Rutha hit him. So I
Close.
figured,
Yeah.
but like he had to get hit in a place that wouldn't kill him. So
Which
I
he
figured,
did, which was the shoulder area there,
Right.
And then
On the
then
right
he
side,
had him
or
in
yeah.
the heart, yeah,
yeah.
right. So
I figured that
yeah.
he was,
But
no,
I was annoyed with that. Like if you have a big fight scene, you want to see how your hero how he overcomes it. Like I was confused. I was confused and surprised that he won the fight. And you don't get to
No,
see
it was
how
kind
he
of
did
like,
it.
oh, he should have lost, and then all of a sudden he won, and we
Yeah.
were like, oh,
Yeah.
he got him in the heart. Okay,
I guess something happened. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
worked. It worked for me because I just thought like Fade Rutha thinks that Paul is giving up, so his defenses were down, and then
see.
Paul used that to his advantage. Like it was just as simple as that.
That's all you need
His
to see.
cousin.
Or no.
Yeah.
Cousin.
Hello,
Because I mean, he
cousin.
was kicking his ass, and there was like the time where he, even knocked Paul down and he turned his back to him, which was like,
yeah.
that's kind of a bad idea.
Yeah,
you could do
I know.
that, but
but he's
That's
cocky.
what
you
did it
do.
because
That's
he was
his character.
he was cocky. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you do when you're super evil bad guy. That's part of what you do.
Yeah, it seems risky. It seems like to be that evil and to be that high up, you have to be like careful. You can't just like turn your back to your half alive enemy all the time. One time they're going
No.
to get you.
Yeah. Well, when you're not controlling the outcome prior to the fight, things are a little bit more difficult. I think he was used to fighting, where like he knew he wasn't going to lose.
Yeah, that was kind of weird how they introed him like that. They had him against 3 drugged up people, like warriors from the Duke's family or the Duke's bloodline or whatever, and he had the shield on. So like it didn't initially come off like he was some badass warrior, but by the end, he kind of got there, I guess.
Yeah.
they,
So that was kinda-
they didn't do that as so in the book. They did a kind of a neat thing where he sets it up to make it look like that there was some fuck up in this like display in this battle. He sets it up to make it look like there was a fuck up, and the slave, one of the main slaves, actually doesn't get drugged, and so he actually has a real fight with him. And so it creates a really tense moment where in the book you see that he's much more of a good fighter.
That happens in the movie.
Yeah, it didn't come off as well though. Still, I didn't think quite, but yeah. So that, but I thought you were just saying it didn't come off as well. You wanted to see him as a
Well, I
badass.
just thought, I mean, he was good at fighting them, but I'm just curious if he's supposed to be so good, why does he have all these protections?
Oh, because he's royalty still, and
Yeah, but I guess it's good because it makes it seem like when he loses, it's not unbelievable because he's still
Right.
like he's good, but he's not like the best in the universe sort of thing
yeah,
because he still needs some protection. So
Right.
maybe that's.
But he
good,
could
it
have
was
bested
just-
Paul. It was only his his arrogance that, of course,
Right.
that's what happens when you're the bad.
And
guy.
Paul knew it, and that's what he used against him. I'm sure it was
Yeah.
all planned out.
Yeah.
Because he can see the future and shit, right? Like, how did he not know? This is how I win. I get stabbed in the shoulder. He'll let his
But-
guard down, and I stab
but-
him in the heart.
Again, the way the future
True.
works, though,
That's
is
a good point.
He
Yeah.
doesn't see the real future. He sees the possibilities.
Parts and
He would
he
see,
sees
would
bits and
see-
pieces.
Right,
Yeah.
or he would see that as one possibility, but then he'd also see, like they'd say in the book over and over, he sees these many situations where he's dead. He sees his end.
And go away from that. Go away from that
right,
choice.
Right. Yes.
Avoid the decisions that lead to that
then,
outcome.
says the doc. But he
Yeah.
doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It's not easy, apparently, to just know what to do or not to do. And to see it through. The book that's another interesting thing about the book that has a lot more time to do it, where he struggles with this stuff about seeing parts of the future, seeing some things, trying to make sure certain things don't happen, and yet still trying to survive and still try to
I thought the movie did a
revenge
great
his
job
dad.
of it.
Well,
I like the
I
scene
know.
where they focus on his hand and he's showing like he just waving his hand talking about it, and then he just straightens his hand out and does like a slice down through the air. I was like, that's a really effective.
good.
Like there's so much exposition here, but it's shot really well and he's acting it well, and like it gets so much across, and it impacts the rest of how you perceive his character throughout the
Oh, yeah.
movie. There's it's great.
It's done well. You just don't. In the luxury of the book, you get to have like the interpersonal dialogue that's going on, and you get to.
I want
like,
30 pages listening
right.
about how hard it is for
Right.
Paul to live his life.
Yeah.
I want to hear about his struggles, page
Oh,
after page.
Lots of words make Danny tired.
Where's my brain?
That's
My
right.
friggin' brain can't take
That's
it.
right.
I need images.
Yeah.
I'm a
But
picture
no,
book
you're
kind of
right.
guy.
Again, that's the challenge the movie has, and it does a fantastic job. It's giving you this sense of him being the prophet, him accepting the idea of the prophet, whether or not it's practical or whether or not he believes it. All of that is done.
It seems like they don't really have a
amazingly well.
choice for the most part, right? Because I mean, even how good warriors they are, if they get set loose in the desert, they're gonna die, right? They know that they need the Fremen's help. That's kind of so. It seems like they just fall. They don't really have a choice for a lot of it along the way.
Right, and that's kind of one of the messages, right?
Yeah, well, and that's why it makes it seem so inevitable.
Right.
Like,
Right, but they're still struggling against it, and that's where it's also interesting that there's those components to it.
yeah. Yeah.
God, this movie was so good. I can't. I'm gonna go back to the theater and watch it again soon.
Thanks. Maybe we'll go to a non-IMAX here and watch it.
Fly out to San Francisco. Come to the IMAX of the Metreon. It's the second largest screen in the country. It's got a friggin' 12-channel surround sound.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
We saw it at the Grand Lake Theater
This is-
in Oakland. That's a historic
Right.
theater. It was pretty sweet. They have the 70 millimeter film.
Not like we're going to give you a headache, so you know it's good.
What theater was that? Talk shit on Outem, John.
No, this is not fair. This is a small town. We should be happy with what we
Yeah,
get.
yeah, you
Somebody
got to
that's
see
not-
these people at the cafe, You don't want to shit talk them too much.
Did you like my showing of Dune, John? Yeah, Charlie.
No,
I like
Sorry,
the
Charlie.
Yeah, we all know that wasn't IMAX. You played a digital file, and
yeah.
The sound was pretty good, Charlie. You keep working on it, but you're almost there. I think
Yeah,
you're
that's
getting
right.
close. The sniper scene, like the first action scene where the dudes all float up to the plateau. And
Oh
there's, like,
shit! I
a
forgot about
sniper
that.
thing.
Those were
that was
scary.
awesome.
That scene was so cool. Like
Yeah.
the way I can't believe these movies are rated PG-13. They show so many people dying, and just because there's no blood, the
they're pretty-
violence is
right.
brutal.
Yeah, but they're pretty careful not to show the gore. But I forgot about that. That was an awesome first set action scene.
Yeah.
Those guys were scary, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
just
when they
alone.
jumped up the goddamn thing and they just
Yeah.
floated up. I was
way
like,
they-
whoa! I didn't know that was gonna happen. That's just
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah, my jaw
And they
was
showed
dropped.
the floating
I was
suits
like,
in the first one, but it was still like, yeah, look at them go.
oh my
They can
god,
just
I couldn't
jump
believe
up
it. I was
mountains.
like, they just jump? What? And now they're even more scary.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, yeah, and then the again just showing the badassery of how they got taken down was also just again really well done.
And the
Oh,
way
the
they did the
Fremen are
bodies
sick.
falling and stuff,
Yeah.
like that was just all realistically done.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's bodies falling in other movies, and you're just like, whatever. This is a stupid action movie, but this one you're like, oh my god, there
Holy
are people
shit.
dying left and right.
I know.
This is
I know.
fucking nuts. Yeah. This movie was great. Yeah, the only thing I could say again is that it felt a little more splintered, but I think there's nothing you can do about that.
It's too much to fucking tackle. I am surprised they could fit that much into one movie.
Freaking 2 hours and 46 minutes. And
wow.
I didn't get up, and I wanted
no,
more.
I didn't.
I don't know.
I had to pee so bad. I had so many Skittles, and I was just like...
my teeth were covered in shit.
Yeah, my teeth were falling out. I had to pee, and like my eyes were bleeding because it was so good, you know? Like so much sensory overload going on.
Yeah, I did feel like this is an event movie. I could feel the importance in like, you know, sometimes it's hard to feel when something big is happening when you're experiencing it sort of thing, but I could kind of feel it watching this one. Like this one's going to be, you know, with the first two already being so good, people are going to be watching and talking about this as like one of the best series ever. I think this is going to happen for like the next few decades.
Yeah.
I think so.
That'll be awesome. It is because it's such a different...
You got to watch it again, John. This movie was
no.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, no,
unmatched.
No,
and just even the production of like the on-set stuff, even if it was in a studio, that was like, once they added in the set extensions, it was like, holy shit, man! The
artistry behind like how they would carve shit into the walls and like all the creative design of the colors and the sets and the scale of everything. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think what's awesome about it is you have that, and then you also have this really complex material that they're dealing with. And
right, the characters are interesting. Like all of them are. It's insane how you have this giant world that I guess they set up a lot of it in the first one with like the exposition and this is how this works and this is the politics behind it and all this stuff. But yeah, it is crazy that you have a love story and mother-son story and religious stories and politics and all this stuff, and it works within a space. It's epic still, with special effects and sandworms and like it's not hard to follow, and it wasn't exhausting to watch.
No, it wasn't.
Right? It was like an easy to this might not be it was easy to swallow. I don't know if that's a positive thing to say, but like something this dense is probably very hard to make
and not make
accessible.
It boring, not make it
right. Not make it boring, right? Or have like all exposition.
But and it still ends. It still feels like there's more. It ends abruptly in a sense where you're like, okay, oh, we're done, and so it is exciting to think about. The
if it ended here, though, I'd be happy because I kind of like the idea of never knowing whether or not what he's going to do. Because the whole point of it, the whole movie is about he doesn't know what he's going to do. You know, at any given decision, and the ending kind of punctuate. He's like the biggest crossroads of his.
Well, but they show they have the Fremen
but
going out on the ships.
But they built so much shit up. I want to know what the fuck happens.
I mean, I want a third one. Don't get me wrong.
I want to know what she does, if she's against him, with him, all that other shit.
Well, Denny said he's going to take his time with that one because there's a big time lapse for the third one, so he doesn't care if everybody's older. So it might be a while before 3 comes out.
They haven't greenlit it yet, so it's going to happen.
Yeah,
with
well, it will because they know the budget was made, so it's
right.
Like,
and Denny wants to do it, so that's good too. He's not like they're not going to have to twist his arm to do a third one. He wants to do it, so that's a good thing. The quality will probably be there too. But I mean, most movies, I kind of like the ending of this too. It didn't seem like that much of a cliffhanger because I mean. Most movies that are good and satisfying, they have an ending that makes it seem like the entire story has stopped. But this movie has a goal it sets early, and they achieve that goal, yet time continues on and more stuff is going to happen, which is kind of more realistic for a story, because like just because a story ends doesn't mean, it's not end, everyone lived happily ever after sort of thing. Right. It's just like they achieve their goal and they're going to continue living, and people, like everything is going to continue moving forward in time because that's how time works and that's how people work and stuff. And it didn't seem necessarily like a cliffhanger is what I'm trying to get at.
No, it was good.
I mean, I don't know. It kind of left me like
more so than other movies, maybe.
It's making me we'll go see another one now.
Yeah, but are you excited? I'm excited.
Absolutely, no. I thought it was a great movie, and now I know which seats to get every time at that theater. So I'm ready.
That's mine. Get out, sir. Get out of my seat. I sat here 2.5 years ago, and it was great. Get up.
No. Luckily you can reserve them, so we're good.
What does suck? I mean. I guess at his level, at this point, he won't be pumping movies out. I'm not sure he ever did. But it's going to be years until he makes another movie. He's probably not going to...
He's got some other secret project going on, too.
Maybe.
But is he going to have... He's probably going to spend the entire time working on the script and working on pre-production and all that stuff.
Maybe. I was sort of hoping he'd do like something in between. something a little less, like something a little bit more indie, maybe. I don't know. Just thinking, well, maybe what he'd do is like take a bit of a break from this kind of big production shit.
Where do you go from this? This is what he's been building towards.
Yeah,
it just
I know.
seems
You're
like
right.
This
You're
is
right.
where do you go? It feels like Peter Jackson's moment where it's just like,
Right.
you made Lord of the Rings. What do you do?
Right. You're
Like,
going to do King Kong or whatever. It's just not going to work. But he
Yeah.
did anyway, whatever.
You mean
wait,
Godzilla versus
Peter
King Kong?
Jackson.
Are you saying Denis
wait, wait.
Villeneuve, King Kong? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
No. Well,
I'd
why don't
watch
you
that.
just take a total right turn and do like the Beatles documentary that Peter Jackson did, which was pretty awesome.
That was really good.
But I don't know. You're right. It is sort of, and this has some similarities to Lord of the Rings in the sense of
This is like the Two
was
Towers.
like-
This
it
movie was.
and it was like a high watermark for fantasy in the sense of you have this really complex story, and yet what they did in terms of production was do things that were like best in show. I don't know what
Still
you call it.
haven't been replicated.
No, but
No one's
nobody
done
has
the
done
same.
that, right?
Yeah.
And we'll get to that when we see those movies. But very similar in the sense of the scope, the way they decided to handle the scale of things, the way they decided to present stuff.
To make it real, make
right,
sets,
right.
make props. Don't just do it CG like
Yeah.
Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you're right. There's a lot of similarities there in terms of this going for hard sci-fi, what you had like for hard fantasy. You don't really hear the word hard fantasy very often, but whatever. Certainly,
And the
there
fact
is
that the
such a
story
thing.
is so weird,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of the stuff is weird as fuck,
Yeah.
which is great for indie movies. But this is a $190 million budget movie. There's a lot of risk to this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, there
I mean,
is and
there's-
there isn't, because the story is a story we've all heard a million times, right? You fall in love. We've got a person going for power. And we're in a place of a different world, and in the world has got a lot of similarities to Earth.
But this would
not
be
so
scary
much.
and potentially
I mean,
boring to
it's-
kids. Maybe like
Well,
that's a
I
risk.
don't know,
Like
man.
it's pretty
that
dark.
Stuff is. I think at the end of the day, you still got the people that just love to go see the images, and they don't even
Yeah.
care about
True.
I think there's a lot that's accessible about this, other than like say like Poor Things. That's not an accessible movie for most people, right?
Right.
Like
No,
this
but
has got
I-
way less risk than Poor Things did, and
Yeah.
understandable that Poor Things has a smaller budget, but still, like, it's this is a story that you hear, and you're like,
Especially-
this will sell. This will sell no matter
Yeah.
what. People will like this.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think like if you, it could sell no matter what, but if you want to still somehow, like most of these directors that have wanted to do Dune, which seems to be there's quite a few of them. They
popular
wanted
book.
they wanted to still stay true to the sort of the oddness, the detail of the book, and yet do this. I think that's where it's risky, right?
Yeah. Right,
and that's
right,
what
right. That's a good point.
and that's what they pulled off, I think, in a way too. Like you guys are talking about all this, the odd dilemmas that these characters were in that are not your typical sort of action movie kind of things. And so they
It's
pull
heady.
that off and still, right. They still do that, but then you still have all these gorgeous action sets and gorgeous action pieces that people can like, no matter whether they're paying attention or not.
And there's enough of
that's-
them where, like, even if you don't pay
Right.
attention to the plot, there's enough action scenes once the movie starts, like, once it gets going after that first plateau
Right.
sniper scene, there's maybe 8 to 10 amazing action set pieces in this movie. And they're all really fucking amazing. Like, they would be standalone pinnacle of any other movie that would come out. And there's like 10 of them in this movie. And it's nuts.
It's awesome. I mean, I'm so glad that I went to see this movie in the theater and the biggest screen I could. And I would recommend every single person out there to go see it. Just pee before you go in, and try
right.
not to drink too much, because
You know what I found is
want to
that
get up.
the Dune popcorn bucket, once you're done with it, doubles as a portable toilet pretty nicely.
Oh, he brings in his own pisser, does he? I
No, the
see.
Dune popcorn bucket. Have you seen that thing?
No, I didn't
Look
know
up
there was
Dune popcorn bucket. Do it right now.
Oh God, do I even want to know?
It's
you might not.
It's a commonly
Oh
searched
my
thing.
God!
Do you want to fuck
is
it?
that?
Do you want to have sex with that?
Do you want to fuck the worm?
They had an SNL skit about how
Oh
people
my
fuck
gosh.
that thing. It looks like a
Oh
fleshlight.
my God! It does look like a fleshlight. Why did they do that?
Why would you have the teeth? Get rid of the teeth, and it's no longer obscene.
Oh my God! Why did they do it? It looks like a butthole.
And it's real. You can get that. It's not a joke. They're selling that at AMC right now.
Nice.
pretty funny. How many people does that pass through, and not one person in those meetings to come up with that to be like, "Hey,
oh, you know
this
what?
looks like a sex toy."
No.
Yeah.
They might have been enough to be like, you know what? This will go viral.
Oh yeah,
This-
maybe.
Oh, yeah,
this will be
true.
perfect.
Yeah.
We didn't have to pay for
it's
it.
some millennial in charge. It's like,
Look,
we're
dude,
doing it.
You had Saturday Night Live make a skit
true.
about your popcorn bucket.
$30 million free advertising if we
That's
stick
right.
with the flashlight
Yeah.
design.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a little risky, but it'll get people talking. Yeah.
We have to make it look like we didn't totally intentionally do it that way, but
Yeah.
there's no way you can't.
So
think it
every
that way
time
when
you
see
want
it.
popcorn, you got to go through the worm.
And how do you wash it? You got butter all over the freaking teeth. How does that work?
Oh God!
Your
Yeah, I
wrist,
take it
your
off.
wrist deep in butter because you're
They
sticking
must
your
take
hand
it
in.
off,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, you just take it off. But
You
that's
just take
weird.
it off when
What's
you
the
start
whole point
eating.
of it then?
I mean,
Just,
well,
the,
got a
just to
handhold.
have
the
just
whole
to
point
have the thing.
is a
In your
popcorn
house,
bucket that
in
people are going to
public.
talk about. You want something people are going to talk
Put it
about.
on your mantelpiece.
Yeah, right. I got that. Where'd you get that? At the AMC. They were just giving them away. It's weird, you know.
Oh man. What else? Anything else? This movie's gonna make its budget back. You know.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
2 weekends.
great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Funny enough, I bet there's somebody who's upset it's not making enough on the first weekend.
yeah. Oh, John, something I wanted to bring up that was different than the book too, which I thought was a great choice. Learning about how it was done in the book is the fact that Lady Jessica's child was not born in the book. She was born, right? The daughter
Yeah,
that was in
yes.
the stomach.
Yes.
And the fact that she was unborn in the stomach and communicated with her was fucking sweet. I thought
It
all
was
that
interesting.
stuff
That
Yeah.
was interesting.
cool.
Unfortunately, but in the book too, she has a lot of really awesome scenes, and I don't know if they just thought this would be too weird or they just didn't have time. But so again, a lot of time passes before they take the capital. So she's born and she's like maybe 4 years old or so, and she speaks like an adult in the book. So she actually is like a leader, and
Just like in the movie.
Well, but she actually like ends up purposely getting captured and talking to the emperor. She's the one that kills the Baron, actually, and she has
wow.
some really cool scenes. Which I don't
That's
know
way
if they
different.
if this was just way too much to do, or if they thought it would just be too weird to have a 4-year-old girl acting like an adult. But it's actually she's.
We already got Poor Things, John.
I know.
We don't need another one.
I know. But it would have been really. It was badass. She was like this total badass, like fighter, and she's 4. And she just like
that sounds like a
stands
lot
up
of
for-
CG. Just practically, how do you make that look real?
Right.
Yeah.
So it would have been tough to pull up, but in the book, the scenes are pretty damn cool in terms of how she's like this very self assured little girl that's like, hey, my brother's coming to get you. He's coming
Oh,
down,
wow.
and then it's pretty cool actually the way it plays out in the book.
That sounds
But-
pretty
but it
good,
would
but
be
I do
weird.
like the idea of like the Lady Jessica's pretty powerful, but
not her brother, but is it? Yeah, it's her brother. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
but
Right.
how Lady Jessica's powerful, but then as soon as she has this baby, and I actually didn't know this, but it seemed like she was getting information from the baby, and I didn't quite put it together. But since Lady Jessica has gotten the training to take away poison out of her system, she protected against the full forces of the water of life, but the baby didn't get that because it's untrained, and it had the full effect of the water of life and therefore became more powerful.
Right.
And that's why Lady Jessica was talking to it, because it saw more.
Right.
So she was like getting advice from her unborn child, which is just
It's just
such a
wild.
weird idea.
And
Yeah.
that the movie again, just that the movie can pull that off to let you understand all of that is pretty awesome.
I
mean,
didn't quite get that.
Okay, well, but
I got that the baby was smarter and she was consulting with it for some reason, but I didn't quite put it together.
Right.
That it's because it didn't have the same training. I didn't
Right,
get
and
there.
but the idea too is again, it's more talked about in the book is that Aaliyah is her name is an abomination because she's basically not human at this point. She's like a freak because of the knowledge that she has without any kind of like growing up in front of that, and so she's thought to be like this really a monster, somebody that could see the future, somebody that has even more powerful potentially than Paul, and that's something to be avoided at all costs. Basically, like in the book they're like saying that the Ben Gesserit, like the truthsayer for the emperor, says like her mother deserves a fate far worse than death because of what she's done, because she took the water of life while she was pregnant. But yeah, so it's Aaliyah becomes, and I assume we probably would see her in the third movie to some extent, maybe.
I mean, it's Anya Taylor-Joy. Clear your schedules.
Yeah, right.
Bump the budget up $5 million.
Yeah.
Make it happen, movie. Make it, Denny. Come on, Denny. Everyone loves Anya. Let's do it.
It is another a piece in the book that's a changing point for Paul that the movie doesn't do, because when his son dies, that also hardens him a bit in the book, and that also then sort of like is part of why he becomes less forgiving, less worried about how he might be hurting other people at that point.
He's given up, man. He's gone full emo again, full circle.
Right. Yeah,
Happens.
I could kind of see how they could cut that out, though. It's like movie
It's a
starts,
lot.
no child. Movie ends, no child. There's a child in the middle. We could edit that out.
well, that's
Just
why
cut
I
it down.
thought. That's why I was thinking. I was thinking that the movie wasn't going to get to that part. Like we were going to have in movie.
So you're
3,
waiting for the baby the whole time, but then the movie ends, and you're like, oh, they just didn't put it in.
Well, no. Well, I was just thinking. I was thinking they would basically. I thought the second movie would end when Paul drinks the water of life, because then a whole lot of time passes. Then his son is born. Then Aaliyah is born. Then they go to move on the emperor, and so like when he drinks the water of life too, he's like out for months, I think, in the book. And so I thought that was where the movie was going to.
What was
possibly,
Chani doing during that period of time?
I don't know. Just still, they were still like raiding the Harkonnens. Still like
Harkonnen, that's the one you fucked up. Harkonnen.
Harkonnens. They're still raiding the Harkonnens. God damn it.
Harkonnen.
Yeah,
I remember there was one.
You remember
that you
making fun of me, and now you can make fun of me again. Hooray!
I love making fun of
Harkonnens.
John. That's why we do this.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought it would have made more sense to do that, but then they had to shorten everything. So no son, no Aliyah being born.
One thing I didn't quite buy, and this is not the movie's fault, I think it might be the book's fault, is that in the prophecy, her name is what? Desert Spring?
Yeah.
That's Chani's real name is Desert Spring. And in the prophecy, it says that the prophet wakes up or survives death from Desert Spring tears. Did nobody before that look at this like
together?
potential
But that's
prophet and think, his girlfriend's
Right.
name is Desert
I
Tears.
agree.
This is also a pretty big fucking,
As it was written.
Yeah, it was written.
That's not how it's not, that doesn't happen in the book. It's not her tears that bring him back.
So that was the movie's script's fault. That's kind of
it was the movie script. Yeah, another like clunky thing I thought in the movie script too. I'm pretty sure this isn't in the book, where he says, when he talks about the ancient name for the planet,
Dune.
Right, and like all the while,
That's the name of the movie.
That's the name of the movie. But you've got this cool language that these people are using. That's part of their like the ancient languages or whatever. All these really cool words and stuff. It just seems weird. It's like that their ancient name for the planet is this English word, like it's Dune. But anyway, I don't think that's
I liked
the
it.
book.
I like that part.
You did. I thought it was pretty clunky.
It was kind of like the Fellowship
like-
of the Ring when Gandalf's like, we'll call this group the Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm like, that's the name of the movie. That's what we're watching.
Hooray!
That's funny.
I like it.
Yeah.
I was the only one clapping. I stood up and clapped for
did
like
you?
3
Yeah,
minutes
Dude.
when that happened. This the movie, guys. We're doing it.
That's right. I seen this movie. You see what this movie's called? That's what this movie's called. At least you didn't say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure I got anything else.
Oh, I do like you
Yeah, I
guys.
don't have anything
just
else
saying,
either.
Yeah, but to be able to appreciate this, again, the very similar theme to what we were saying with being able to see a Studio Ghibli movie. To be able to go and see these in the theaters as they're being made is something to step back and appreciate.
I mean, this felt like watching Lord of the Rings in the theater. Like I've only had an experience once where I walked out being like, that was something. Like that was unlike anything else I've seen. And
Right.
I'm glad I saw it in the
I walked
theaters.
out and said, this is going to be the best picture of 2024. And it's so early to make that
Yeah.
determination. But I don't see how
there's
you
no
beat
way
this
anything
one.
tops.
Yeah.
You can't top this. There's
no way.
You're not going to top it for 20 years.
Yeah, you're not going to have 190 million either in most of the time. And this
Yeah,
has
that's
got,
fair.
Right.
They really
Well,
used the 180 million or 90 million, whatever it was. They used that money wisely.
They did.
They didn't waste it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But But the other thing you said, Denny, which I think is this is what Denny, the director, has been working towards. This is like you see this.
He's had this in his sights for like over 20 years approximately.
But also too like honing his craft towards it, like doing Blade Runner and doing some of the like he's like,
consciously practicing it so he can do this specifically.
It seems like that. I don't know if he said
that.
It
doesn't seem like it. That's what he said.
Oh, he said
he
that
literally
too?
said Arrival and Blade Runner were to test his chops, sort of like, make
to get ready for Dune.
practice because he wanted to do Dune and he wanted to make sure he could do it.
Nice.
How cool is that?
Those were yeah. So like this is his vision and he's doing it. Like it's crazy. This is his like life's work right here. And it's fucking incredible. Dude is my favorite living director right now. Oh, I guess Spielberg's still alive, but I don't know. I'm the most excited about what he does next than any other director out. Because I mean, it could go a lot of directions. He can't get bigger than this movie. There's no way he does something bigger. I mean, maybe Dune 3 will be bigger. I don't know. I don't know what the storyline is.
They said it's his last one, no matter what. Dune 3.
The third one.
He said he only wants to make 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're going to wrap up the last, 2 books in the next one?
No, just the last. So the second book is Messiah, and he's going to do that entire book in the third movie. Is the plan?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's cool. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's such a good series and easily like the fact that my girlfriend was able to go with me and enjoy it, and like it's a sci-fi movie. That's not very often that happens, and I'm not a huge sci-fi nerd, but I enjoyed this movie thoroughly, even though some of the story, like I said, was very much ones we've heard before. It was cool. I was good with it. You can channel Gladiator any day, and I'm going to be happy.
I have every time you talk like that, TC. I have renewed hope that you might like the Lord of the Rings movies because
maybe
they're kind of similar to this.
Maybe I wouldn't put it past. Me to hate it and not know why.
And even like this movie, like the Two Towers, they added humor to Gimli, and the second one kind of out of nowhere, and they did the same thing with Stilgar in this one. Yeah, it's kind of similar.
It's a nice comic relief. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do got some trivia.
All right, what do you got?
Pretty small amount since it's a brand new movie, but here we go. The Baron's makeup took 8 hours to apply and 2 hours to remove every day he was in it.
Oh, Jesus.
He was in that, so that's 8 hours plus the shoot plus 2 hours. That's 10 hours minimum, probably shoot for 4 hours. Let's assume 14 hours on average, if not longer. He didn't drink that entire time, and he took ammonium pills to avoid having to use the bathroom in that suit.
Whoa.
That's crazy. That sounds dangerous.
That's like really unhealthy, yeah.
Yeah. That's what he did. I don't know how many days of shoot he had to do that.
Constipation City. Yeah. That's
no kidding.
That's his new,
which is actually kind of good because you're in the suit and you can't get out.
That's his new. That's his new world is taking over Constipation City.
Stellan Skarsgård. All right, the nominees for this year's awards for no bathroom.
This guy
breaks.
held his poop in for 4 weeks.
Like,
for this
who risked their health?
Give him an award.
It should be the Daniel Day-Lewis award or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the what's his name? Christian Bale.
Stellan Skarsgård in Dune Part
Bale
2
award.
or Eddie Murphy in The Nutty Professor Part 7. Those are the two.
Known for the longest time between bowel movements. There we go.
Denis deletes and destroys all of the scenes that hit the cutting room floor. There's not going to be deleted scenes. There's not going to be making ofs with extra scenes. A lot of the stuff, like there are actually 2 actors, and I didn't write down the names, but John, you can look this up. There are 2 actors that are pretty central, and not central, but main characters in the book that they shot the scenes with them, and they're pretty prominent actors, and they cut them out completely from the movie because it just didn't work.
Huh.
Wow.
And when Denny was talking about it, he was very sad. Like there was a lot of the stuff they cut out because they shot. I mean, this is an expensive movie. They intended to use all the shit that they shot because it was really well planned out. It was expensive to shoot everything because they were like on location and they had these giant sets and all these, a lot of production people and et cetera, et cetera. So whenever he had to cut something out, he felt really bad about it. But he talks about it how it's like part of the process and it's the hardest part for him to cut stuff out. But he takes editing very seriously is how he talks about it. Because he doesn't think about him, like himself. Well, at least this is what he tries to do. And he's a pretty awesome guy to listen to, but he's like, I don't have the ego where I want to show off what I did. I want the movie to be good. Like I do all the editing decisions to make the movie as good as the movie could be, and nothing to do with me and what I want
Like,
in the movie itself.
we spent $50 million on this shot. We got to use it. No,
Right.
if it sucks, it sucks. Yeah,
if it's not good, throw it out.
Yep.
So that's pretty good. His direction to Austin Butler for Fade Rutha was be a cross between a psychopathic killer, an Olympic swords master, a snake, and Mick Jagger. That was the direction there.
I don't think you pulled out the Mick Jagger part, but whatever.
No, I would kind of agree with that. But Austin Butler apparently is famous, if you like that Elvis movie, famously a method actor. He pretended to be Elvis for 3 years.
Yeah, I heard
before
about that.
and during making that movie, which sounds pretty annoying. But for this movie, he didn't want to do that for his family and friends' sake because this is a pretty evil character.
You may have to kill people.
Yeah. But Denny did say that while he was on the screen, he was 100% like perfect, crazy. But then in between takes, he kept a little bit, maybe 25 to 30% of Fade Rutha. So like he had an edge on set throughout the shoot, which interesting.
Yeah.
He gained 25 pounds of muscle for that role. Pretty good. He trained for 4 months with Navy SEALs in their workout routine.
Wow.
And he didn't have to audition. He went in for a cup of coffee with Denny and got the role after the cup of coffee. Before that happened, Bill Skarsgård and Barry Keoghan were in consideration for that role.
Oh.
I think both would have been pretty good there. So this movie was delayed because of the SAG strike, which was, I don't want to say a good thing, but it gave them time to convert all of the footage they shot, which they shot on an Arri Alexa LF, which is a digital camera, I think, right? But what they did in that time is they converted it to IMAX 70 millimeter from the digital format because
Very
they had
cool.
the extra time there. So
Yeah.
now we have 70 millimeter because of that. So good job, actors. You made this movie better.
Hey.
Hey. When this movie's pre-sales went online, it crashed the AMC site.
Ha.
Pretty good.
Nice.
It
Yeah,
was
but
shot
where were
in-
all the people? I mean, they weren't in my theater.
What time of day did you go?
7:30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, normal.
People in LA are over
Mhm.
it. Everywhere else in the country is excited as shit about this. People in LA are like, I want to watch friggin'
Yeah. I don't know.
Maestro. God.
God, I
Watch-
don't even want to know. If you hate it that much already, I don't even want to
Watch
know.
a half an hour of Maestro and you'll get the gist of it. There's no way that movie changes from what it
God.
is. We can skip it.
I don't know
good.
if I want to watch it. Yeah, it just sounds odd. If like you hate it, I'm gonna be like enraged that we even bothered.
It's made for people who like All About Eve and movies like that. It basically
no.
is remaking
No.
old, fast talking. It's like all the dialogue is like, "Hey, I'm Bradley Cooper. See, I'm a part of the talkies. See, I'm a singing and dancing, and I'm in vaudeville and all this old Hollywood stuff, and it's black and white, and all the
Nope.
dialogue
nope,
is like
nope,
unnatural.
Nope. We're
and,
not doing it. It's out.
yeah,
We're
the
calling it
music
right
is
now.
big bands. Like it's
No.
just it's like replicating
that-
an old
that's out.
movie
So why is it in the list? Is it just like
because Hollywood loves to freaking
it's a circle jerk itself? I
yeah,
know.
exactly.
I know.
And if you like old movies, then you might really like it. Like it wasn't outwardly bad, but I don't like that, and I couldn't take it. So
No thanks. You know I don't like it.
yeah, this movie was shot in Budapest, Italy, Jordan, and Abu Dhabi over 6 months.
Pretty cool.
Quite the world travel, quite the long period of time. Last piece of trivia is the scene on what's the name of the planet? It's the Harkonnen planet, whatever that place is called.
Jedi Prime or something, I think.
Getty Prime. There
Jedi
you go.
Prime. See, Jedi.
Yeah,
there
so-
you go. Fucking reading the book again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
Jedi
that
Prime.
scene with the gladiators and they're on that Getty Prime planet, they decided to shoot with infrared cameras. That's why it looks all weird
Oh.
and like overexposed in black and white and stuff. And that's a decision you cannot come back from. So like once you shoot in infrared, there's no converting it to color. There's no altering the image. Like that's a commitment that you
Right.
make. And to be able and to make that kind of commitment in a $200 million movie just kind of shows like they're letting Denny do what he wants at this point,
Oh, yeah.
which is pretty sweet. He's like basically Stanley Kubrick at this point, but he's I think even more of a solid like box office bet, especially after what's happening with this movie right now. They're going to give him $250 million to do something like Dune Messiah is going to be insane. It's going to be
I'm looking forward
crazy.
to it. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out. It'll probably be, 2 years?
Yep.
3 years,
They
maybe?
haven't greenlit it yet. So, 2-3 years.
Yeah. Well, he said he'll take his time with it. He wants some time to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
God
That's
damn
pretty
it.
cool.
Although, if this
He
movie
wants some
makes a lot
time to
of money,
pass so he can have a fucking life.
maybe.
Yeah,
but
spend
this-
some of his giant amounts of
Right,
money that
right.
he's making
Yeah,
right now.
right. He
But
just
if
wants to
this
enjoy
movie makes a
himself
lot
for
of
a
money,
year.
though, there might be a lot of pressure to get it out before you got to ride the
They're
hype.
not. He might just
I
say,
don't know.
"Fuck you guys! You're going to wait
That's
for
right.
me. You're not going to get another director."
Right. I'm Denis.
Yeah, I'm the one doing this. You understand that other people have tried to do this type of shit, and
Yeah,
I'm the reason it's working. So
That's right.
you're going to wait. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm taking a year off.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Cool.
Would you put this in the top 250?
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
a long pause.
I would too.
I would too. You know what number this movie is in the IMDb top 250 right now?
I thought it was
80.
like 10 at one point.
It's
Oh, wow.
12 right now.
yeah.
Holy shit.
It's fucking crazy.
That's
And it has
impressive.
Yeah. And it's got 90,000 votes. So that's good. I don't think the first one,
Damn.
I think it might have like tipped on the scale, but this one, you don't get that high and not stay in the top 100. So this movie is
No.
going to be, I think the only other movie that got this high was Parasite. And that was like, that got to like 18, but then it dipped down to like 30 something at this point.
Wow.
This is 12.
Damn. That's high
That means
for
this
a movie that
people
just came
think
out.
this movie's better than Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, which is number 13 right now.
Yeah, it might
According
move
to the
down.
website.
It might float down a little, but yeah.
It probably will, yeah. But yeah,
Well, so what are we doing next?
Yeah.
the Oscars.
Ah,
So-
yes.
So I would recommend, so we don't have time, we're going to do a separate episode for The Zone of Interest because we've all watched that, but it's going to be after our Oscar episode comes out, which is going to be next week. We have watched, with the exception of 3/4 of Maestro, every movie on the list. I think TC,
Nice.
you should watch The Holdovers before we do
So
this episode.
we have
because-
that. We might do that tonight after this. Yeah.
Okay, because that movie
So-
is awesome, and
Yeah.
So we should do a quick little review maybe at the end of the Oscar episode. But the plan is that we get together, we rank our favorite movies at the top 10 because we've watched all of them at this point, and we talk about why we're ranking them that way, and then we go through the Oscar list and we predict what we think is going to actually win. Because the Oscars are next Sunday, and we could put it out Monday, and we could see how right we are when, with our guesses and stuff. Because we've seen a lot of these movies on the list.
I know. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll do that.
Okay.
All right. Sweet.
Sweet. All right.
All right, folks.
Talk to you guys
Sounds good,
later.
guys. Talk to you later, guys.